well done. Acompanha Verpakovski, entra. And Riga lead.
Welcome to the Latvian Football Podcast. Today we're going to talk about match day 19, as well as the Latvian Cup draw, which has been going on for a little bit of time, but it is at this point that the Virsliga teams are joining the fray. So, any surprises for you?
I think this is one of the rare game weeks, game days, rounds, whatever, where I'd say there are no big surprises. Maybe not even any small ones, just maybe some games not as close as they could have been. But overall, I'd say this is one of the most, I'd just say predictable game weeks, and they turned out just as such.
Interesting. Well, let's see what happened game by game. First game of the round was Liepaja, who hosted Metta. Liepaja won 3-2, Dodo scoring twice and Tidenbergs putting the final one in. And I guess on paper this doesn't seem too unusual, but if you look at the stats, this is where the interesting things start to happen. Because yes, Liepaja won 3-2. Liepaja had 9 shots, 6 of them on goal, versus, and hear me out, 22 shots for Metta, 8 of which were on target. And Metta also they had a better part of possession at 56% and more accurate passing. So really seems like Liepaja got lucky with this one. So many shots by Metta is not something that we see all that often against the top half teams.
Yeah, but this is one of the, I guess, relative surprises, because before match, you could have predicted this result, because teams are quite close in terms of quality, but Liepaja should edge it. But yeah, Metta were really good in terms of just the style of play. I mean, this season they've been very good, and even against the better teams as well. But this this is an extreme for them. The amount of shots, as you said. I know their XG was also higher by, I think, almost 1. So on paper they should have won the game. And they, I guess, did look good, but they were just not prolific enough in front of the goal. They had a lot of chances. Purzirevskis had a shot where it already went past Lazarevs, the Liepaja goalkeeper, but a defender was almost on the line and blocked the shot, and it went out for a corner. And they should have won, but the chances Liepaja got, they just scored, and basically the whole game was made by 2 players, Tidenbergs and Dodo. I think Tidenbergs got 2 assists and a goal, and I think Dodo got, I think maybe he may have even been the one who assisted Tidenbergs in the goal, but maybe also not, but still, pretty much the only 2 players that noticeable on the pitch. Well, also Lazarevs, because he saved a lot of shots. But I think what is the best thing, and I think I don't mean best sincerely, is the fact that during the transfer window, Liepaja sort of took in 5 new, or even 6 new players, but I think it's 5 new players from Senegal, from like the same academy. And I mean, that's a usual thing to do, to bring in players from Africa, but 5 on the same window from the same country, and all of them started the game, which is crazy as it is, but they're all 5 from the same country, and I think that it has only occurred once in the Virsliga in like early 2000s in Liepaja, where there were 5 Lithuanians, but 5 Senegalese players, quite crazy. And as much as I saw the game, I don't think they really stood out. I don't think they were that good. They weren't also bad, but it's just almost half of the squad, new players, new in the new league. I don't know what Pertti is thinking, but in the end they got the win, but almost didn't. And I'm not sure about this choice of the squad.
5 outfield, players, that is half of the squad. It's crazy. And maybe this pairing of Dodo Tidenberg, maybe it worked as well as it did simply because they're wasn't really much, much else to do. You have the existing Liepaja squad, and then you have these 5 newcomers, and I mean, how much of a gelled together squad can you have on the field? And it's not like they also joined months ago, right? It was literally a matter of a week or just a little bit over. So really fresh off the plane, on the field, let's go against Metta.
And they also weren't the only 5 new players in the squad. There's also Roberts Meitis, who came over from Tukums, also in this transfer window. So he was also, so basically 6 of the players were new, but at least he wasn't new for the league, just for the team. But yeah, other than that, it's crazy. It is. I'm really not sure what Pertti is doing. What is this rebuild? I thought the squad was fine also without them, but apparently not. And
I'm just disappointed because Pertti, he didn't outright promise that he is going to re-engage with the Liepaja Academy, but he gave this really long interview during at the beginning of the season, or just before the season started in winter at some point, where he was like, well, yeah, that's obviously what the direction that I want to go in, to get more local players. And we talked in our introductory episode that this has become a problem for Liepaja. They had become divorced from their locality, which is a real shame, because Liepaja as a city does produce a lot of very talented players in Latvia in the past and still. And so there was this hope that, well, maybe he will start bringing in players from the academy. And of course, you can't just harvest the academy in your first year, but I mean, bringing in 6 Senegalese players is not really an indication of going into that direction whatsoever. And that is, to me, just a little bit disappointing. Is he then disingenuous with us? Are there some forces that are beyond his control with respect to the squad and the players that are in the club? Or could it just be that Liepaja Academy doesn't have any players who are ready to be pulled into the first team? It also seems kind of unlikely. And we'll talk about all the transfers that happened over the summer window. I guess towards the closure of the window, I'm keeping a notepad record and everything, but it's just, yeah, this doesn't look at all inspiring to me.
The only thing is that if you look in the Latvian Football Federation website on the transfers thingy for the clubs, you can one can see that there are quite a lot of new players theoretically transferred to Liepaja. I'm guessing from the academy, because there are no clubs from which they have been transferred, or if they have them, then it's also quite obvious that it is from the academy clubs or clubs around Liepaja, which it would indicate that there's been some steps made toward it, but there's no players in even the squad for the game. I'm not sure if they're training with the squad as well. So really, yeah, I do agree. It is a bit disappointing. And of course, you can't just put the player in all of a sudden, but you would hope that towards the end of the season, at least a couple of them should get some minutes. And if in the end no one does, then either he didn't mean what he said, or maybe they are just not ready for it. But as you said, that's unlikely, because there's out to be at least one good player from Liepaja. It's just how it works in Latvian football. So
yeah, but they did win Metta, which is important. 3 points for them, fighting with their nearest their neighbors in the league. So good for Liepaja, and Metta will get a chance at revenge. We'll talk about that when we get to the cup. Next game was RFS versus Valmiera, a headliner bout for this game day. The champions of 2021 versus current champions. And this is also a game where we finally bumped into each other. Completely unplanned.
Yeah, that part is nice, of course. Finally got to see the same game. I guess with our own eyes as well. So we really should have the same perspective no matter what. Well, maybe not the
Well,
same
we did sit
perspective.
in opposite ends of the stadium, so there's that too.
Not exactly opposite, but yeah, that is true. But yeah, I mean, there was definitely much more anticipation for the game than it turned out. Well, there was anticipation, but I thought it'd be much closer than this. And not only because, of course, the current champions against the previous ones, but also the fact that Valmiera just beat Riga, RFS's closest competitor, pretty much the only competitor for the title, and pretty much showed that maybe Valmiera will start to play something close to what they did last year. But no, completely confident win by RFS. It's not that Valmiera played necessarily bad, but it's just, yeah, they were just outclassed by RFS. RFS scored from a corner, shock, and then yeah, two pieces of brilliance by the player just brought back in from loan from Daugavpils, Ismail. And yeah, can't really remember if Valmiera had like any actually good chances. They had some attacks, but no real like danger in front of the goal, which just shows the confidence and sort of the boring, confident style of play that RFS has. But of course, which is ultimately good because they're getting wins, and yeah, not closing the gap on Riga, but just regaining it by just 1 point. And it seems that it's going to be a good battle. But other than that, don't know what more to say about the game. It's just well, nice. The T-Conix is back. Also got some minutes.
Yeah, so RFS won 3-0, scoring in the 8th minute and then 60th and 79th. Overall, yeah, I mean, looking at stats, it's kind of an even game with 15 shots for RFS and 14 for Valmiera, 8 on target for RFS versus 3 for Valmiera, and 52% possession for RFS versus 48 for Valmiera. Significantly more accurate passing by RFS, but other than that, not much to set them apart on paper. But being there in the stadium, it's I was nervous going into this game because there is this effect of I don't know, it's almost like a PTSD from last season with how Valmiera were playing, and that it just the best results that RFS, a team that played in the Conference League group stage, managed to achieve against Valmiera were draws. And there were some very embarrassing losses as well. Valmiera were just unstoppable. And okay, this season it's a draw and a win up until this game, so now 2 wins. But I was nervous up until the starting whistle, and then once the game started, it didn't seem like Valmiera is able to really threaten RFS. There were some interesting chances. There were some very nice raids. Diop looked pretty good, and this one of the new Valmiera players, what's his name, Ruan or something like that, right? Ruan.
Yeah.
Yeah, he at one point made a really nice back heel kind of attempt at goal. It was pretty unexpected, but other than that, it should be noted though that RFS were essentially in their full strength. I don't think anyone was missing, really. Nobody noteworthy. Maybe that speaks to the squad, but I mean, pretty much all the familiar faces were there. For Valmiera, Zelisko is away, playing for Ukrainian U21 in the the quarterfinals of Euros, and going further. Then all their other injuries. So a couple of other people are missing. Olsis wasn't available insofar as I understood, so Lauva had to guard the net. Sleda started as one of the 2 center backs, and he did show himself really well, I think, and surprisingly tall guy, but I mean still young and not very experienced. So, Valmiera is having issues, although, I mean, 3-0, I agree with Counts. during the press conference, he said that, yeah, they deserve to lose, but 3-0 is a bit much. And kind of looking at it objectively, I do agree with him.
Yeah, that is fair. Yeah. I think just Valmiera really struggles in the attack because the main guys from the start of the season are all injured for a long time now, and I think the opposite. He was just absolutely not good. Okay, had like one good raid or something, but overall just very disappointing, sort of clumsy and a bit lazy even. Rowan is trying more than at the start of the season, but it's hard. It's just something's lacking in the midfield as well, I'd say. But mainly that I just not they don't have the finishers, or the playmakers really. But then again, it's RFS defense, so can't also ask too much from them because RFS are just very good at what they do. And but it's good to see Lauv in goal. Not that shaky as some of the previous games that he was already in goal this season, and made some good saves as well. But RFS just dominated. Maybe 3-0 a bit too excessive, but I guess they took what they had, and that's what they're supposed to be doing. And just sad for Valmiera that they really still have to play in the Champions League, and that does worry me because I don't think it's like a unbeatable opponent, but with this team it does look a bit sad. But then there's also this Camilo Mena saga. I'm not really sure if he's playing for Valmiera or not. He even interacted with us on Twitter, which is also a bit of a confusing tweet, I would say. Not really sure what else. Council also said in the press conference. What I made out of it is that he is probably going to be playing maybe in the Champions League, but whether he's or not, don't know. But he would be a really good addition, especially because he's an attacking player and really talented, and didn't really get his breakthrough in Poland, so should be a bit sort of hungry for football, for some goals and the wins. So I hope he does play.
With Mena, so the thing there was that one of our companion accounts tweeted the news that Mena has been recalled from loan, and we replied that, well, good for Valmiera but bad for Mena. And then surprisingly Mena replied in Spanish saying that he agrees and that he thinks his time in Valmiera has finished, but no one at the club really cares for what he thinks, something to that effect. And I don't know, I understood it, since none of us speak Spanish, so I understood the same way as Kalns did, that he just means that he wants to play at a higher level. But it seems that a whole bunch of people read it also in a sense that he's not going to be playing for Valmiera, which I disagree. I think he very much is going to be, so just as Kalns also mentioned in the press conference. And now it seems that everyone has read that tweet, which of course brings me immense joy. Just no one remembers that it was from us, which I guess is fine. But because there were also other press conferences and pretty much interviews where this was mentioned. But point is, he just needs to get in form since he hadn't played much in Poland, and then kind of show himself again, and maybe via the Champions League, Conference League, someone will pick him up. Because it's not that there's no demand, it seems that it's just Valmiera are a little bit driving a little bit of a hard bargain perhaps for Mena, which is, in their right, obviously. So that's the thing with Mena, for those of our listeners who are not on Twitter, where all the action was about this. All right, next game was Supernova versus Auda, right?
Yep.
Yeah, so no surprises there. Auda winning 5-0, no problem whatsoever, and 4 of those 5 came in the first half, nonetheless. Supernova achieved no shots on target in this game, 6 shots overall, and held the ball 32% of the time, whereas Auda pulled a little bit of a Riga here and delivered 29 shots, 17 of which on goal. Complete dominance, some nice goals, not a particularly exciting game, but a good result for Auda. Hopefully this will kind of whet their goal-scoring appetite, and then they can roll into the third lap of Virsliga, having resolved or at least somewhat healed their goal-scoring problems.
This is definitely just a boring game to talk about because it went as it should. Supernova, even with the new coach, just still nothing to show. I thought they had one shot on target in like the last minute from like a set piece. Maybe it went off target, but it seemed like a good save from Alexandros, the new Auda goalkeeper. Not new, young.
Not according to stats.
Then maybe not, but maybe it went off target, but it was still look good. But yeah, I think Auda have done a good deal in terms of transfers this window. Took in on loan from Riga, Reginaldo Ramirez, who definitely didn't get the minutes he would want in Riga, but he's a good player. And first game in Auda, 2 goals already, looked very good, very lively. And then there's also Oskar Subens from Jelgava. Also, I think a good piece of business because he's definitely hungry to play for a bigger club, and also the European Cups this year. So I think they've done a good business and is finally scoring as well, 5 goals. But then again, from 17 shots on target, only 5 actually scored is also not really a good ratio, and that just speaks on all this sort of lack of their ability to score. But still a good win for them, and I hope they keep up a good form until the eventual European games. It will be tough. It's unlikely for them to get through, but I mean, at least they can show themselves, maybe show off a couple of players, especially the younger ones. And who knows, maybe they will be able to get something good out of this European campaign. But other than that, just boring game. Nothing the Supernova can really do. And I think it's already quite likely that they're going down. Also a bit concerned if they even will finish the season, because for this game they only have 4 players on the bench, which is not a good sign. And at least I guess they have like the academy, so they can bring in some youngsters just in case, but still.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's really strange, because the Supernova is one of the largest academies in Latvia, and so their first team is nothing to write home about, but their female teams and all their youth teams are fairly successful, so they shouldn't really have issues pulling homegrown players into the team. They don't seem to be doing that for whatever reason this season. I mean, I guess the reason is how they performed last season with their homegrown players, but Well, Supernova lost a couple of people as well. So Rakels is gone. Minions was injured, so he wasn't available to play. Someone else, I think, left. I don't fully remember. We'll catch up on that when we do the...
I think both goalkeepers are also gone.
All right. So, well, they did get Weisbuchs in.
Yeah.
Who is a young, talented Latvian goalkeeper with quite a bit of potential. Used to play for Jūrmala Spartaks when that team was around. So, Supernova is not looking good. Hopefully they'll slog their way to the end of season and pull off a couple more upsets, or at least win something else. Otherwise, they're just losing game after game, which is not fun for anyone.
Oh, another positive from Auda's side is that they only had 3 foreign players in the starting lineup, which is also positive. And considering they scored 4 of the 5 goals in the first half with so many Latvians, that's also quite nice. That's also nice to see.
Yeah, I didn't realize that. That's good to know. All right, and moving on. Next game was Jelgava hosting Riga. Jelgava lost 3-1, but they did not go down without a fight, let's put it that way, and did manage to inject some excitement into the game during the first half when they drew 1-1 in 35th minute. Riga did what they had to do thereafter, but...
Well, this could have gone badly for Riga, because as you said, in the first half it ended 1-1. They had another good chance in the first half. Of course, I'm saying all of this whilst Riga had many good chances throughout the game, but still, for Jelgava, they had a good chance still in the first half after it was already 1-1. And then at the start of the second half, also again, after a mistake by Riga defenders, Osogu went 1-on-1, and it was very disappointing, very weak shot, but it could have been 2-1 at the time, and then if they sort of parked the bus. After that, who knows if Riga would have pulled through, but overall, 3-1 seems quite confident. Riga getting 2 goals, which is nice to see, getting closer to Ilic in terms of the top goal scorers. I think he's only 1 away from Ilic now. What's interesting is that the goal that Jelgava scored came from a mistake by Purinc, which is very unusual for him, I think, especially with his feet. It was just a misplaced pass, and then Jelgava sort of had a quick counter-attack with almost no Riga defenders there. It did bring in some spark to the game, but in the end, Riga did what they had to do. What's also interesting is that Glodi and Gonda made the return to the Riga squad after being in the reserves for the whole season, after being seemingly not in Stipic's plans. But now he's back and he's in the starting lineup and got an assist for the first goal and seemed overall lively, which is, I guess, nice to see because he's a player who came over from League One in France. But the only confusing thing is, and I don't know if you saw the press conference when he was asked about this, he said in the beginning something about like people deserving second chances, but then he said that the reason why he wasn't really playing is because, and Gonda himself apparently said that he has some problems in his private life that he has to deal with and prioritize, and then he can't really be fully committed to football, and apparently that's the reason, which isn't really according to what I think Stipic said before. So that's a bit confusing, but overall it's a positive that he's back. And Riga looked, of course, the better team. It's just the fact that Jelgava could have troubled them more, but still a deserved win. They looked good, especially Douglas Aurelio. Oh my God, what a individual run in the third goal. How he just tricked 2 players, including the goalkeeper, and then assisted Marco Regja. Incredible player.
Yeah, it's a lovely little messy run there. Really amazing. About Gonda, I didn't really read much into it because I didn't really understand it as that him being back in the first team is the second chance. Maybe more that because we don't know what was the private thing that happened, or at least I don't know. I read it more as maybe football is the vehicle towards a second chance in private life or something like that. Because if you read it the other way around, then it's a little bit dodgy and doesn't fully make sense. Why is Stipic contradicting himself in a space of a couple of minutes? But I mean, if you do look at it through that lens, and then the whole Vakulko thing with the Ukrainian flag, it's just there's like all these very suspicious things piling up in Stipic's closet, and I'll look at it the other way, at least for now. But interestingly, on the game, another thing is the formation choice. So I think we're still in the fence about Jelgava's new coach, but this was a game that was almost like textbook lineups, where Jelgava lined up 5-4-1 and Riga very attacking 4-3-3. And then we could see how Jelgava is trying to play on counterattacks. Surprisingly, Riga's defense did not look all that confidence-inspiring, though. So if they come out like that on Friday against RFS, then they're in deep trouble. But I don't know, maybe it was all a ruse to create a false sense of security for Viktor Smoras.
Could be. I mean, it seems that it's hard to tell with Stipic. He's a sneaky guy this season. Also, there in the press conference questions about Baba Musa and whether he would play, and it seemed that he answered very honestly that it's unlikely because he has some health problems, but he hopes that he's ready so that he can put out the best squad. But he sort of answered, it seemed honestly, but in the end can't really make out what was the real message there. So I think maybe there are a bit of mind games coming from him. Also, the fact that for the previous Riga derby, he said that they're like the little boys compared to RFS. So it could be, and I wouldn't be surprised if he also did that with with squad formations, because I mean it is Jelgava, which they should beat under any formations, and yeah, so it I wouldn't be surprised if that's the case.
Yeah, I don't know. Viktor Smoras doesn't really strike me as someone who is into playing mind games, and having watched the RFS docu-series, which if you haven't seen yet, go check it out. It's on YouTube, it's free, it has English subtitles, it's insanely high quality. Just even if you don't care about RFS, just to see what it's like being a professional football player in a new club, fighting for places in Europe, it's just amazing. But after having watched that, I'm even more kind of confident that he probably doesn't even watch half of these things. So the RFS just seem to be out there to do their own thing, and anytime they actually change formation is when they're playing against like Fiorentina or obviously superior clubs. But we'll see what happens on Friday. I'm very excited. Big Riga Derby Part 3 on Friday. Skonto Stadium. It's the biggest domestic game of the year. Last year, almost like 4,500 spectators, which for Virsliga is huge by a long margin. So it's gonna be great.
Yeah, and the last game of the round was Daugavpils hosting Tukums. Quite a away day for Tukums, and turned out to be not too good of a trip for them because they ended up losing 1-3. Good win for Daugavpils, also on the birthday of their director Nauris Matskevich, which I know is very sort of hardworking and very loyal to Daugavpils football and fighting for them. So I think he definitely appreciated this win. And this is also a game where, before the game, maybe you could have speculated both ways, but during the game, Daugavpils were just confidently the better team. Tukums didn't really have any major chances, even the goal didn't really come from like a good chance. It was just an individual masterpiece from Stepanovic. But yeah, Daugavpils confident, 3-1. Mukwela 2 goals, Liznov's 1 goal and an assist. Just was nice to see because I think, as we already said, Daugavpils are a very good team, just sort of lacking the maybe some experience and overall the confidence and the ability to get the points that they should have been getting. But now it seems that they've turned it around, and this win, I think, I hope at least, is a sign of what's to come from them in this sort of second half of the season, and I think they could be really climbing up that table.
Yeah, so 2 goals by Mukwela and 1 by Lizanovs at the very end. Daugavpils producing 13 shots versus 8 for Tukums, 7 on goal versus 3, but only holding the ball 38% of the time, and they're not having a particularly good pass accuracy at only 64%. So, I mean, what does that tell us? That tells us that Tukums controlled the ball and intercepted a lot, but couldn't convert in front of the goal, or even in front of the penalty area, for that matter. It was good to see goal by Stepanovic's, really excellent shot. But the biggest thing that surprised me in this game was that we were spelling doom and gloom for Daugavpils after Jalejko and Diomande got recalled back to RFS, but they looked good. They looked they look alright. Even though Tsutsurs was missing because of the disqualification, another one of the squad leaders. And okay, Tukums is a comparable team in terms of what they can and cannot do. But even though when watching the game, Tukums seemed more confident, and the ball possession does reflect that, Daugavpils seemed perfectly fine. So that was very impressive to me, and I'm very happy to see that.
Yeah, it is a good point that Daugavpils didn't seem to struggle in terms of squad even after missing two of their, I guess, best players so far this season. But then again, they did go up against Tukums, and as you said, even though Tukums controlled the ball, it was, I think, a lot in their own half, and also they made a couple of mistakes. I think 2 goals definitely were just a mistake by Stuglis, and then sort of by Wazos and Butovskis from a long shot from Daugavpils goalkeeper Kurakins. But still, it was nice to see, and I hope they sort of fix their gaps in the squad with this. Even though looking at the squad, it doesn't seem too bad. I mean, a couple of youngsters whose surnames I haven't really heard before, Tikhanovic and Urbans. But if they still have Ivanovs, Afanasyevs, Mukwele, Rami Nazirli, what problem should they have? So I hope and I think it should be fine for them.
I would also like to point out another one of Daugavpils' youngsters, Yaroslav Harushtak, who is the Czech left back for Daugavpils. He's 21 years of age, and Daugavpils is his first experience of playing abroad. He's currently on loan from the Czech side Shrudim. Sorry for butchering that. But he's looking really, really good. He's young, he's fast, has a nice vision, he's energetic. I really enjoy watching him play. So, not that he's affected by the loan recalls, given that he is in the defensive line, but a little bit more space for him to open up and take a bit more of a leadership role, I suppose, if that's what he is up for. But really exciting to see him play.
I do agree. He's a good player, and wouldn't be surprised if also picked up by some bigger team from Virsliga as well. That's it for round of 19 of Virsliga, and now we can quickly also touch upon the Latvian Cup, which is also going strong, and now we're heading into the round of 16. Which is the round where the Virsliga teams join. And there was the draw of the pairs today, and some interesting pairs that turned out to be for the round of 16, and a lot of Virsliga matchups, which is interesting to see because for a long time, I think only a couple of years ago, it was changed that Virsliga teams couldn't be drawn against other Virsliga teams, which basically meant that the quarterfinals were just full of Virsliga teams. But now it's different, and I think it often turns out that the Virsliga matchups happen quite early on, and this is definitely one of the cases. So what the pairs are: Marp against Beitar, which is third. Tier 3 team against Tier 2 team. Marp, of course, my team, current team, not playing for them, but my team nevertheless. And then there's Valmiera against Supernova, 2 Virsliga teams. Quite predictable, I'd say. Wallene versus Tukums, one of the Virsliga teams against the Tier 2 team. PPK against Riga FC, which is going to be a very interesting matchup. Interesting because PPK, of course, as people may know, is this team from Tier 3, but it's sort of a community as well. There's always a lot of people going to the games. They have their own fan base and already making jokes that it's over for Riga FC. It's just going to be a good game. Definitely a lot of spectators and overall good event. And then there's Daugavpils against Alberts, Tier 3 against Tier 2. Metta Liepaja, which you already touched upon, two Virsliga teams that just battled it out, where Metta maybe undeservedly lost 3-2. So that's going to be interesting and close. Jelgava against RFS, again, two Virsliga teams. And another two Virsliga teams, Daugavpils against Auda.
Yeah, that's the draw. Do you maybe want to quickly introduce the teams that people haven't heard us talk about for quite a few episodes already? Like, who are Maarupe, for example?
Maarupe is a team from a city just outside Riga. It's sort of relatively new, but the sort of management behind it is very enthusiastic and hardworking and really pushing for a spot in the league above and doing all they can, which of course I know because I've seen it firsthand and I really respect that. And yeah, there are a couple of local players, and then there's some foreign players as well. Not sure really how they are sort of introduced into the, not introduced, but sort of scouted out or how all that happens, but they're good additions. Some on loan as well from, I think, Saldus, Levon. And yeah, but then there's also other players which sort of are done with their relatively professional career, but making a comeback to football or just playing for a lower level. And doing really great this season, second in the league. Been walking over, well, maybe not walking over teams, but walked over last place from first league the round before. Then they beat the first place from first league, well, the second tier league before that one as well. So I'd say there's high chance that they might get through to the quarters even if they beat Beitar, which is a team in the first league, the second tier. A bit of controversial team as well because last year they moved up from third tier, but there's a couple of players which have been allegedly known to speculate in sort of match fixing. And even this season, they've been a really strange team because they've beat some good teams, but then lost against teams which they maybe could have beaten. Then there's some big results. So it's a bit confusing. And I know there's sort of behind the scenes a lot of people not really a fan of this team, but well, they made it this far in the cup, and will be an interesting matchup. Last season when I was playing, it was always tough against them. Wouldn't say like a derby, definitely not, but a bit of a. There is definitely something to this game, and considering they went up but Maarupe didn't, definitely will be looking for revenge. Will be an interesting game. Daugavpils is also a second tier team. Daugavpils is a big city in Latgale, well, a relatively big city in terms of for Latvian standards, quite a large city. I think their team is a mix of like youngsters from Daugavpils and some experienced players. And they're just, I think, like in the middle of their league, but doing well in the cup. And we'll definitely be looking to sort of put some pressure on Alberts, which are their opponents from the first league, second tier team. It's a club also which has been running for 12 years or 13 years, no, longer than that, but not even 20 yet. And yes, but it started just as a youth team, and then sort of built up an academy, then the men's team, and they've been one of the better teams in the first league for a couple of years now, and maybe even pushing for like a top 3 finish this year. And I think definitely the favorites, but yeah, also a good team. Another team which I used to play for actually back in the day. Then there's Uolaine or AFA Uolaine, also a team from a city quite close to Riga. I think they do have just youngsters playing for them from the academy, not doing particularly great in the league this season, but somehow I got this far in the cup, beating Grobin in the previous round, Grobin being one of the best teams in the first league, so that's why it's surprising. But I think there's no chance against Tukums for them, unfortunately. PPK, I think I pretty much introduced, made by a retired Latvian footballer, was sort of big on media and teamed up with an actor, just full of like people just who had a passion for football, built up a community, and then made a team, and doing fine as well in the third tier now, and definitely also no chance against Riga FC, but it will be very interesting sort of how they do, whether they manage a goal, because Riga will probably not put up the best squad for the game, and it will just be an overall event, this game. Definitely, it will be just interesting to see how they do, and it will just be fun to watch. And that's pretty much the teams outside Virsliga. They really show off what Latvian football is about. Just proper homegrown teams with a bit of controversy as well. And will be interesting. And what's more interesting is that there will be definitely two teams outside of Virsliga in the quarters, and we'll see how they do, especially if they get drawn against each other, or maybe against the lower team from Virsliga. Well, I'd say Supernova that they probably won't get through to the quarters because they're playing Valmiera. But still it will be a great achievement for them, and would be really nice to see something similar to what happened last year, when there were two teams not from Virsliga in the semis, which is a very rare occasion in Latvian football. So if at least one team not from Virsliga can make it to the semis this year, it will be a good achievement, and we'll just sort of make the Latvian football, and especially the cup competition, a bit more colorful.
We don't yet know when these games will take place, but we'll keep you posted, and it's definitely exciting, another competition for us to talk about. So we'll be talking about Virsliga, we'll be talking about the European games, we're already talking about the national team, and now there's going to be Latvian Cup, which I think is maybe available to watch worldwide through the LFF website, but need to confirm that and let you know next time. But thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you after the third big Riga derby.